Hi everyone, very pleased to meet you again to continue our series of lectures about the literary movements and trends. Now, after seeing previously the first movement, which is classicism, right, and also, if you can say, its other extension, right, which is neo-classicism, today we continue with another important and widespread movement, which is Romanticism. Okay, of course, the name of this movement is, as we all know, associated with feelings and emotions, all right, and all the literary works which expressed and tackled, all right, the side of feelings and emotions in its core. So, when we say Romanticism, of course, we need to highlight its conditions of emergence, okay, and also the historical circumstances which accompanied its appearance, besides to the main principles of this movement. So, in fact, this movement appeared, as you know, okay, or originated at the end of the 18th century. It is literary and also artistic and also intellectual movement, which does not concern only literature, but the wide scope of arts. Wide scope of arts like painting, music, and so on. So, as a literary and intellectual movement, it appeared, we said, at the end of the 18th century, and its appearance was marked by publication of a collection of poems by two poets who are William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge in 1798. So, the publication of this work, Lyrical Ballads, right, marked the real appearance, the real beginning, right, and start of this movement. Now, this movement, of course, appeared in the 18th century, and we know the century witnessed a kind of intersection between many movements. So, here, this movement was partly a reaction. It appeared as a reaction to the age of reason or the age of enlightenment, which was also in its peak, all right, at the beginning of the 18th century, and all we know that the age of reason focuses on the principles of prioritizing reason, logic, and intellect over feelings and emotions, all right, and sensations, all right, sensations. And also we know that in the age of reason and enlightenment, all right, the movement of neo-classicism, okay, was revived and also flourished at that time, clear, with its emphasis on always reason and logic over feelings and emotions. So these romantic writers and poets, okay, considered the extreme focus on mind, right, on the reason, on the intellect, on the logic, right, and the neglect of feelings and emotions, right, and also imagination, because also neo-classicism, okay, avoids imagination. It avoids imagination. So these romantic poets came, right, to address this, saying that the human, okay, being is not only, right, a mental construct, doesn't consist only of mind, right, and reason and so on. There is another side of him, which is his feelings, his emotions, and his sensations, okay, that should be also addressed in literature and expressed in arts. So they came here, these poets, who are romantic poets and romantic writers, all right, and romantic also artists, to restore, okay, or to shed light again on that neglected and ignored side, okay, in the human being, which is his feelings, his emotions, okay, and his sensations, as well as his imagination, right? Imagination as a reaction to the extreme focus of the neo-classicist on, as we said, reason and logic. Alright, that's why it's called the age of reason, which for them ignored the feelings and emotions. Also, this movement was a reaction, to the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution, which lasted from almost 1760 until 1840. And of course, this Industrial Revolution, although it brought a lot of technical advantages to the human being, but at the same time it had a lot of negative effects, especially of urbanism, and mechanization at the expense of the purity and the peace of the individual and nature. So, among its negative effects, we said, is urbanism. And you know that during the 18th century, the cities and the towns, expanded and became larger and larger, and this urbanism, influenced badly, the individual, and his peace and his purity, and his good nature, which was in the past linked and related to the countryside. Now the cities came for them to ruin, this individual. This is for urbanism, and the expansion of cities and its bad effect on the individual. On the other hand, also we have mechanization. This Industrial Revolution, it brought a lot of inventions, and among them, and mainly was the use of machines, which replaced the human being, and rendered him, a counterpart, only a mere counterpart, or replacement for the machine. So he lost his value, he lost his, his esteem, as a central element in this world, and was replaced by machines, and those machines and system of mechanization. So here, this movement came to restore, and to get back, that the opposition of the individual, as a central part, in front of that, invading machine and system of mechanization. Good. Also, this movement, in addition to its reaction to the age of reason, which neglected the human feelings and emotions, and also in addition to its reaction to the Industrial Revolution, which ruined for them the individual's nature, and goodness, through urbanism and mechanization. This movement also was inspired by two important revolutions which erupted at that time. The first one was the American Revolution, which started from 1775 until 1783. Also the French Revolution, which appeared broke out in 1789 in France, and which put an end to the French monarchy, and of course it opened new horizons for democracy, for nationalism, and for the individual's freedom, and also it contributed to the spread of that liberal mood of the 18th century, thanks to these revolutions, which influenced this movement, So, all in all, these two revolutions, of course, they share the same principle with this movement, which is liberating the individual, and freeing him of the established rules of tyranny, of injustice, clear, and rendering his position as free and good, all right, and we can say virgin creature, okay, a virgin creature who is free of all those social, political, okay, and tyrannical, okay, influences and practices and effects. Good. So we write here, number one, it was a reaction to, reaction to, number one, the age of reason, said. Number two, the Industrial Revolution. Young revolution, right? Here is what appeared in the 17th and also 18th centuries, but it prospered mainly in the 18th century, at the beginning of the 18th century, with also the boom of the neo-classicism, okay, movement. This one also, it appeared, start from 17, we said, 60 till 1840. And also, number two, it was inspired by, number one, the American Revolution, not Civil War, the American Revolution, which started from 1775 until 1783, besides to the French Revolution, all right, which started in 1789. So these are the major influences which contributed, okay, to the emergence and which accompanied also the appearance of this movement, and they influenced it tremendously to the extent that it got many of its principles, okay, from these different, okay, if you can say, essential influences, especially the freedom of the individual, okay, and his good nature that should be purified, okay, from that pollutant, okay, effects of tyranny of those established regimes, okay, and also those cities and urbanism, and also mechanization, all right, which replaced the individual, okay, and got his position as central element in this movement at that time. Now, among the main principles of this movement, we can talk here about, when we talk about Romanticism, we can mention here 4 major axes or principles on which this movement is based. All right. Is based. So, we can write here features or characteristics. Number 1, we have 3 and 4. First major concern of Romanticism is the individual himself. The individual. Second, we have nature. Third, we have imagination. And fourth, we have passion, or what we call feelings and emotions, passion. So these are the 4 major concerns of this movement. The individual. Now, this movement, right, advocates and is concerned mainly with the individual, right. Now, from which side here? It's concerned with the inner world. Number one, the inner world of the individual. Clear, the inner world rather than his external world. Okay, the inner world we mean his feelings, his imagination, his sensations. All right, with regard to what is around him, what is around him. All right. Also, it is concerned for or in relation to the individual with, if you can say, restoring his good nature. All right. It aims at restoring and focusing on. All right, and also appreciating his or the individual's good nature or his goodness, right, which was of course ruined, right, and destroyed by the expansion of cities, urbanism, mechanization, right, and also the tyranny of those established rules and regimes, right, and regimes. Also, this movement, is concerned with the individual from another side, not with any individual. It focuses mainly on what we call the underprivileged. The underprivileged. We mean here mainly, the lower class of society, right? I mean the poor, the outcasts, the wretched, the miserable, and so on. So all these are focal, right, concerns for this movement and its literary works. Why? Because it seeks to tackle, that human side, that pure side of the individual, right, of the individual with his modest, state, right, when he is humble, when he is poor, when he is, naked, we can say, of all the other social, cultural, and also tyrannical influences and effects of hegemony. Good. So, this is concerning the first acts of and concern of this movement, individual. Now, nature. This, of course, movement also, it appreciates nature and its sublime awe, right? For the romantic poets and writers, nature is the mother source of inspiration, and also it should be the mother concern or the main, concern for this movement, right? With its sublime awe, beauty, right? And also its effect on our senses, on our feelings and emotions as pure, individuals, right? Also, for imagination, it considers imagination as a creative faculty, right? Imagination for them, unlike for the neoclassical writers, they avoid this, feature, which is imagination. Now the Romantic movement, came to stress it, to emphasize it, because for them it is a creative faculty, source of inspiration, right? Of inspiration, and for them also knowledge is gained. Also, for Romantic movement, knowledge is gained from intuition, right? Intuition, right? Sensing something spontaneously, right? Clear? And not from deduction, right? Not from deduction. Also, concerning passion, we mean here feelings and emotions, as you know, that it aims or its movement stresses and emphasizes, right, the priority of feelings, emotions, right, and sensations over reason and intellect. Over reason and intellect. So it prioritizes here and it focuses, and it restores back, the position and the due value, right, of passion, of feelings and emotions, right, at the expense of reason and also intellect, Also, another important feature for this movement, we have its also emphasis, right, and extreme concern with the individual's freedom, right, and to revolutionize, okay, the established rules and regimes. Okay, it aims at also liberating the individual from the tyranny of the established rules and their injustices through emphasizing and also focusing on the liberalism, right, and the spread of freedoms in the world, and that's why it encouraged the revolutionary movements in the world, right, and the liberating revolutions too. So Romanticism also is associated with the revolutionary movements and trends in the world. Also, another important feature for this movement, we find also its concern with the ethnic heritage, right? The ethnic heritage and culture. Here it appreciates, if you can say, the individual belongingness to its own origin, to its own origin or his own origin, and ethnicity, right? And ethnicity, through, of course, producing a huge amount of works about folk tales, also mystical tales, which are related to also imagination, It also deals with, right, or tackles and focuses on mystical tales, folk tales, right, and those ethnic, stories and so on, which are related to the origin of the individual, And all of us now, Romanticism considers, the major and the main and the highest literary form, for them is poetry. So poetry for this movement is the highest form of literature, the highest form of art, the highest form of expression. So these are, you can say, the four major axes of this movement, right? And under them we have certain details. We'll find them, inshallah, in your next lesson in the PowerPoint, PowerPoint format. So here I will simplify to you in this simple presentation. Good. Now, concerning the major leading figures or romantic figures, which contributed to the spread, of this movement, we find many figures, alright, and most of them were in the 18th century also. We have the Lake Poets in England, also, for example, which called the Lake Poets, group of poets, which includes Taylor Coleridge, William Wordsworth, and Charles Lamb. Also, we have William Blake, alright, famous English writer, William Blake. We have also Lord Byron. We have John Keats. John Keats, yes, is a very important and prominent figure, of this movement. We have also Mary Shelley, right? Mary Shelley. So as you see here, the movement is concerned and it focuses mainly on poetry and romantic poets, but this is not its exclusive concern. We find the traces of the movement in other also genres and in other forms like short stories, like even novels. Right, even novels can be considered as romantic novels or romantic, short stories too, not only poetry, but the major form for them is the poem. So also we have in American literature many leading romantic figures. We have Edgar Allan Poe, also with his concern with that mystical, side of the individual in his short stories. We have also James Cooper, another American also writer. We have also Washington Irving, right, and his masterpiece, The Scarlet Letter, right. He is Nathaniel Hawthorne. Nathaniel Hawthorne with a masterpiece, The Scarlet Letter, and we have also Washington Irving with his marvelous, classical and romantic short stories like The Legend of the Sleepy Hollow, like Rip Van Winkle, which contains that element of imagination, revival of the individual after long death, of him. Also, among the main works we find, as we said, the seminal book, we can say, of this movement is Lyrical Ballads. We find also William Blake's Songs of Innocence, also we find The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, and also there are many other works which are produced according to the principles of this movement and which were embraced by this movement and its principles, especially the focus on that emotional side of the human being. It aims mainly to portray the emotional side and the imaginative, you can say, side of the individual, instead of only considering him only a mental construct. He is also we can say a human being who has many sides, not only reason and logic, but also feelings and emotions. And for them, this movement, they consider it higher, and more important than reason and than reason and logic, because it came as a reaction to that extremist, neoclassicist and age of reasons, if you can say, concerned with those, elements and principles. So this is the end of our lecture. Before we end it, of course, we need to have some kind, you can say, of realistic touch, or involvement with this movement. This time I have tried to bring to you or show you this masterpiece, from William Wordsworth, who wrote his famous poem, which is Daffodils, Daffodils, which is also entitled with another title you see here on this clip, on this video clip, which shows the lyrics of this poem recited. So do please follow with me.
And all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. They stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a joking company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure filled and dances with the daffodils.